Welcome, folks, to episode 178 of the Healthy Habit Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dayon, and we're back with Stacy Faulkner checking in with us back from episode 175 a couple episodes ago, where we discussed estrogen balancing, excess body fat, and how that can lead to accumulation of excess estrogens and much more. I highly recommend you guys go check out episode 175 on the Healthy Habit Podcast. And all of our past shows with Stacy. You just type in the little search bar up there, Stacy F, and then all of our past episodes over the last couple years will pop up with Stacy. Stacy's worked in the natural health industry since 2000. We're going on 3 decades here, Stacy. As a national educator for Emerald Labs, Stacy provides insight and understanding to those seeking information regarding better health through proper supplementation and self-care. How are we doing on your end, Stacy? Welcome back.
Terrific. Thank you. Terrific. A little cloudy today. It's a little bit chilly, but
Yeah. So,
holidays are here.
yeah, exactly. So we're still in the first quarter here of 2025, and people always
Oh,
put health as their priority. Once they get out of once they start the new year, the gym memberships go up,
yeah.
visits to different doctors and blood work go up. So how important is urinary tract health, bladder health? This is a common concern, especially UTIs in women. It's higher. Men get it too, but
Yep.
much higher in female population. So
Mhm.
bladder health, why did you want to highlight this, and why is this on the radar?
Well, we just recently had the estrogen talk for men and
Yep.
women, and I just wanted to highlight this other product that is specifically for men and women, the bladder health. And I know my goal sometimes is to get more men to talk about their health,
Right.
especially in the health food stores, instead of just kind of go up and just grab, I mean, especially like something with like prostate, they would just maybe grab a saw palmetto instead of talking with somebody about a formula that could be more advantageous. So, bladder health, nobody really wants to talk about it, but I can talk about it, with great zealousness because this product has worked for me. I tried it right when it came out. My problem was after menopause, uh, I had an overactive bladder as far as not so much, but it was more like urgency. So
Okay.
urgency. So that detrusor valve or whatever goes straight to the brain. There's no way of controlling it. So this bladder health, just for people listening, the indicators of use would be anybody that definitely has an overactive bladder, that's just frequently urinating. Like, don't pass up a restaurant. I'm in a restroom. Pee before you leave. I've heard all of the statements that people use. Um, but this would be for people that leaking from urgency. I mean, leaking from sneezing, laughing, or coughing. Like I said, urgency for me, a weak bladder wall from either aging or uh, childbirth, multiple childbirth. How about
Uh-huh.
men with prostate issues, the pressure on the prostate, the frequent urination at night? This is also great for anybody with nocturia, urgenesis, so we're talking nighttime frequent urination and bedwetting. This is also would be beneficial for a youth for
Mm.
bedwetting. So it's a pretty simple formula, but I think that we need to be more open and talk about it because there are products out here, these formulas, these are doctor formulated um, formulas with Emerald Labs and very affordable, but there's something that could really change somebody's life. So I'm talking like improving the quality of life.
Right.
And so if you're having to wear, adult diapers throughout the day, and then now your doctor's telling you you need just don't get up at night for the frequent urination because it is the number one visit to the ER for elderly people falling, going to and from the restroom in their homes or,
Wow.
or visiting wherever. So from broken bones to face planting into the bathtub, we're looking at then a diminishing, quality of life at that point for healing, especially for the elderly if they break a bone or crack something. So this is what's happening. So this is why this formula includes what it does, and we can get into that. But as far as people hopefully that are listening can understand, I'm only 56, and so I started this back when I was 51,
Yeah.
I believe, and it has just changed my life. Changed my life so much that I do not have to take it anymore. I do not have to take it. So it has toned my bladder wall. It has reduced the urgency completely. Yeah, so there you are with those ingredients. But for people that are listening, if you're suffering from frequent urination, if you're getting up a lot at night, if you cannot even hold it, if you're leaking for just from
Mm.
sneezing, laughing, coughing, or all of a sudden the urgency and it's all over for you, you may really be wanting to look into this bladder health. And it's formulated by Dr. Mark Stangler. It's a very good formula. All of these ingredients here are to make a full change for the person that's taking it.
Good highlight on that one. That's the Bladder Health from Emerald Labs. Like you said, Doctor formulated, and we had Dr. Mark Stangler on the show. It was a once, well, hopefully we'll get him on again, who's the formulator behind the products here at Emerald Labs. Again, the additive-free company, and you can see on the side of the bottle here, clinical potency, made with non-GMO ingredients. There's no magnesium stearate in here, gluten-free, and it's a vegan formula. And in this particular blend, we have the Urox and the PA Cran, which is a standardized extract of cranberry. So that's the first one here on the ingredient label, the Urox blend, UROX. And that has various types of aerial parts, different plants, the stem bark version of Varuna. So these are all specific herbs. Horsetail. Horsetail is classic for, it's an astringent. It tonifies. It strengthens the bladder wall in this case, but other tissues as well. That's the classic use for horsetail, that herb. And it's named because the plant actually looks like the tail of a horse. It's a pretty interesting plant. Equisetum is the botanical name there, which you can see in brackets. Tell us a bit more about this specific blend, because this formula, we're trying to tonify, we're trying to strengthen the bladder, correct?
Correct. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to strengthen the bladder. We're trying to keep the over volume or the residual urine very, very low. That's what the pumpkin seed. But this Urox, this is an amazing, amazing ingredient. It's a patented ingredient, and it's comprised of three different ingredients
Yeah.
used in Ayurvedic and Chinese herbology. Like you just pointed out, the root, the Lindera root. The Lindera root is from the laurel tree, the root of the laurel tree. The horsetail, like you said, it's really good for edema, kidney issues. It's really great. It's really rich in silica. Silica is a mineral that's in charge of collagen production. So that is all about strengthening the bladder wall as well.
Yeah.
Um, then we've got the Gravitox. There's a trademark ingredient inside this patented ingredient, which is the three-leaf caper. And the Gravitox, so first of all, when we go with the Gravitox as a patented ingredient, it's increasing the smooth muscle of the bladder and it's reducing the residual urine. And so this is a huge issue. That's why we're going to talk about the pumpkin seed as well. So it's really that product alone is really good for nighttime urination, and it improves the tone of the bladder wall and decreases that volume pretty quickly. So these herbs, now that these three combined, you have results. Seriously, the studies show within 2 weeks the consumer sees results and wants to stay on it. So strengthening the bladder wall and reducing painful urination from an enlarged prostate is also a claim from the Gravitox. Now, something that I thought was really interesting is that the Gravitox has the three-leaf caper has something called a triterpene, which is just a naturally occurring chemical compound,
Yeah.
but it's a lupiol. And so when I went down the rabbit hole, I hope I'm saying that right, the rabbit hole lupiol
Yeah.
is been shown for the efficacy to protect against the growth of prostate cancer cells. It also preferentially kills prostate cancer cells while spares normal prostate epithelial cells.
Yeah. And which
So
ingredient was that specifically? Which
So
nutrient?
the Gravitox has the
Okay.
triterpene of the lupiol in it, and so the lupiol, talking about the prostate support, and inhibits the growth of prostate cancer tumors of human
Hmm.
origin implanted in a xenograft mouse. Okay, it decreases serum PSA levels to a biomarker for prostate cancer in mice implanted with human prostate
Wow.
tumors. So this lupiol, if anything, is a takeaway. It also inhibits the rate of proliferation of human prostate cancer cells, irrespective of their androgen receptor status. Now, that may be a lot for your listeners, but what I wanted you to understand the lupiol, because I think that's super important as far as an
Yeah.
added benefit to this. I get so excited here.
Right.
I'm like, ah. So that's what a lupiol is. And so that's just one of the ingredients. That's the Gravitox. That's the patented ingredient. And then we have the horsetail in there. So Used for fluid retention, kidney, bladder stones, urinary tract infections, and inability to control the urination. So incontinence, basically.
Hmm.
So that's that, but also horsetail is very rich in silica, like we just pointed out.
Right.
So the Lindera root, like I said, is from the laurel tree. So we're looking at it enhances the anti-aging effects for the bladder and the urinary tract. So earlier when I was saying just an aging bladder, well, folks, I mean, this happens. So I mean,
Yep.
I'm dealing with a 56-year-old bladder. I've never had children. I'm after menopause. So we have to keep the tonality, just like what we were talking about in the last episode,
Yeah.
Dehan, about muscle tonality. So the bladder, it's a muscle. We need to keep it all really smooth and strong and, keep it just healthy, a healthy bladder. So I
Yeah.
think that if anybody is having any kind of incontinence or urgency or nighttime issues, then the bladder health is something to really, really look into.
Yeah, and again, that's in the Urox blend here at the top of the list in the
Hmm.
supplement facts behind on the bladder health formula. And it's three plant parts in this blend: the Lindera root, the horsetail aerial parts, or the top part of the plant, basically, and then the Cradavox stem bark. And that's the specific one, the Cradavox that Stacy was mentioning, that can help with men's prostate potentially, right? We always have to
Yeah.
add that word potentially because this is just supportive, potentially preventative care that you might want to plug into your formula. So, and I want to highlight some signs of a weak bladder, okay? Because
Yes.
people might be like, is this product for me? Do I need this? You
Yes.
mentioned a few there a moment ago,
Yep.
Stacy, but I'm just going to do a nice highlight
Mhm.
on overactive bladder. I highly recommend people tune into our YouTube channel because you can just see the video here and follow along with us as we go, but I'll say it out loud as well for our audio listeners. Who, by the way, as customers are shopping in the store, they have access to the audio version here, which can help guide them in the shopping process. Overactive bladder, sudden strong urge to urinate, even when your bladder isn't full. So that's very common. A lot of people they just went and peed, but then they feel like they have to go again,
Mhm.
right? So that's something that can happen a lot with overactive bladder, OAB for short. Frequent trips to the bathroom, waking up at night to urinate, like you mentioned, which is known as nocturia, and then sometimes the leaking urine as well, or incontinence. Underactive bladder is also a sign of a weak bladder. So you can see that people respond in different ways. Somebody might get the underactive version, another person gets the overactive. So being unable to fully or completely empty the bladder. So this can even happen after major pelvic surgery, multiple sclerosis, diabetes even can lead to
Yeah.
this weakening of the bladder, causing the underactive version. And then, of course, painful urination is even an option. Not an option, but it's like they're taking their pick. But no, it's another potential symptom that can manifest: burning or stinging sensation while urinating. Urinary tract infections are very common in the case of a weak bladder because things aren't moving through how they should be. So they just collect along the bladder wall, right?
Right.
Hematuria is another one, blood in the urine, which could, of course, be a sign of a more serious illness like kidney or bladder stones, infection, or even cancer. But in a less serious case, it could just be weak bladder that could be happening there. So, anything else you wanted to highlight on this particular one? Actually, let's dive even deeper into the cranberry extract, the
And
PA
the pumpkin
cran.
seed extract too. And
Both,
also
yeah.
one other thing with the Lindera, so it also increases the number of the epithelial cells in the bladder, strengthening the connective tissue. So if people are
Wow.
hearing us say this over and over, strengthening the connective tissue, smoothing the uterine wall, I'm not the uterine wall, the bladder wall,
Yeah.
um, making it stronger. And so those three ingredients, I'm fascinated with Urox also because I'm a testimonial. And when I think it was 150 patients, placebo versus the Urox just alone, not with these other ingredients, but after just 2 weeks, people wanted to stay on it. Over 67% of the patients that were having such beneficial results just after 2 weeks. So
Right.
your listeners will feel a difference, men or women, children, you could just go down to one. So it's a Canadian ingredient. It's a Canadian patent, but it's just really, really, really good, especially because all three of those ingredients have already been tested for, centuries on Ayurvedic uh and Chinese herbology methods.
Right.
So let's see, pumpkin seed extract. So the pumpkin seed extract is here. I know it's rich in zinc. I know it's rich in omega 3s. So I mean, obviously it would be beneficial for a male to be taking it with the extra zinc in there. But as far as what the pumpkin seed is in here from Dr. Spangler is we're trying to basically keep um, the over volume of the urine from maintaining residually in the bladder.
Okay.
So it helps the over volume empty. So that pumpkin seed is like, especially when people are holding it. So when people are holding it, who's holding it? Teachers, doctors, educators,
Right.
hairdressers, truck drivers, a lot of people, sports athletes. So they're holding it. And so that really does not, that really affects the tonality of the bladder wall. But then when they finally have to rush to go to the restroom, a lot of times what they call the stay is they're not fully emptying that bladder. And that's unfortunate because we want that to be fully emptied, to maintain you know, the the availability of the toneness of that bladder.
Yeah.
So overall, it's an anti-inflammatory. So like we've talked about earlier today, looking, to reduce inflammation wherever possible. Um, so the pumpkin seed's shown to improve the abnormal urinary function, and especially in patients with overactive bladder and with men with BPH. All
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Um, It strengthens the bladder tissue, it helps the bladder expand and contract. So this again helping fully relax and urinate until you feel completely empty. So it helps the nerves of the bladder to regain control, especially after childbirth. And it helps with the many trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night for people over 50.
Wow.
So that's just a little bit on the pumpkin seed. And so people just you need to relax more when going to the restroom, and just fully think about the bladder and as something to take care of
Right.
and to fully empty that bladder
I'm
as
glad you
much as
mentioned
possible.
the BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia or enlarged prostate, which is really
Right.
common. It's like the step before prostate cancer. Not everybody with BPH has prostate cancer. And so the prostate's located right underneath the bladder anatomically. So imagine if that's enlarged and growing, it's
Yes.
literally pushing up against the bladder, which can cause like a bunch of different urinary issues. So a product like this can potentially assist and be in your prostate care formula. So again, that's the Bladder Health, everybody, from Emerald Labs, the additive-free company. Come talk to Stan, the demo man. As you enter the store, just make a right. He's there Tuesdays through Saturdays, and ask him about the bladder formula that we discussed in episode 178 with Stacy here at Emerald Labs. A nice pair with this I would throw on would be the Pure Whey C. Maybe we can highlight
Oh,
that
yeah.
too. I'm
Okay.
a big fan of vitamin C. It's my favorite vitamin. I take like 8 to 12 grams a day orally.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the day, I like
Right.
powders, but
Uh-huh.
Pure Whey C is nice because it's liposomal. So let me pull that one up, and you
You
can
want to
get us
finish on
started.
you want to finish with the cranberry real quick that's in
Oh,
here
that's
and
right.
why?
Yes.
Let's finish with this pack cran because
Y-
this is also, I'm sure
yes.
it's at Healthy Habits. It's a standalone that we sell as well. This pack cran is a proanthocyanidin cranberry. And so this extract is super potent. Um, And like I said, we sell it as a standalone, but this is a really concentrated powder. And the cranberry has been shown for several things. Not only is it an antioxidant, super potent antioxidant, and people take it for the UTIs because what it does is it loosens this little hook from like an E. coli or whatever, a little bacterial. It loosens the hook that's holding on to that uterine, I'm not uterine, that the bladder wall, and it loosens it for it to be able to be flushed out. So this is a really great product, the Pat Crown alone to have in somebody's arsenal to maintain if somebody's getting frequent UTIs. But that's what this product is in here specifically for. This nutrient is because of the uptick that we're seeing in patients, I mean, and customers between 70 and 90 years old getting these UTIs. And what we can trace it back to is the bladder problems, either the leaking, the dribbling, the leaking or sleeping at night and going to the restroom in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
in the adult pull-ups. And so the Urox alone just really reduced the studies came back, reduced the diaper usage and overall quality of life. But so this cranberry is in here to also help pain, improve the quality of life as well, getting through that UTI. Uh, Cranberry has also been shown to help keep a calcium out of calcium out of your urine, especially if people are suffering from osteoporosis. That's another thing people could research, the
Yeah,
effects of cranberry. Yeah.
totally.
So I mean, the whole thing is reducing the pain, reducing the discomfort, improving the quality of life, um, improving the tonality of the bladder wall, whether you're, somebody in, early 50s to
Right.
late 90s, men and women, right? Just it really has changed my life because it was really an issue and I travel for a living and it just becomes, very uncomfortable.
Right, and I'll piggyback with what Stacy was saying there about that last, and that, by the way, that's a trademarked specific version of cranberry extract, the
Hmm.
PA cran. It's a
Pack, man.
patented form. It's standardized to the 1.5% A-type PAC, which has tons of research specifically for bladder health. And I like this breakdown here from Google on their AI overview. I typed in why cranberry for bladder health, and a lot of this Stacy just mentioned, but it's nice to see it here as a summary. And they attach links to each one of these. They may be especially helpful for women who have frequent UTIs. Like I
Mhm.
mentioned in the beginning, UTIs are much more common in the female population, but men can get them too. They're more effective at preventing them specifically than treating them, but they can be used for both. And they have those packs in there, like you said, the proanthocyanidins. And specifically, what is that doing? It's preventing the bacteria from actually attaching to the bladder wall. That's people don't understand that part, which is good. And then the body can flush that out. And
Mhm.
that's why I was saying adding vitamin C potentially as a side by side to this bladder health formula to help with the actual infectious process and the immune system. So now, if
Absolutely.
you can prevent them from adhering to the wall and preventing them from coming back, that's a good 1-2 punch right there.
It
Would you
really
agree
is.
with that?
I know it's like 3 to 6 hours, like it says down here. We're going to take it 3 to 6 hours. It has the highest anthocyanin concentration. So if somebody's suffering from a UTI, I do not just take two of the cranberry. If you buy this product alone as a
Yeah.
standalone, do not just take two. Take them every couple hours because then you're really flushing out and as well with a lot of water. I mean,
Yep.
people don't want to take capsules. They do come in drops, cranberry drops. There's a lot of different ways you can take them. Obviously, you can, eat cranberries or drink cranberry juice, but you'd want the cranberry juice without sugar because we don't
Yep.
want to feed that UTI. We don't want to feed it. So, oh, there you go.
Totally.
Eat lots of fiber, drink lots of water. So you're trying to flush it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then that's if you have an active UTI or if you get them all the time, you should definitely try to avoid alcohol, coffee, and a bunch of caffeine if that keeps happening because that just irritates the bladder, promotes dehydration, and
Right.
all kinds of stuff, which is the opposite of what you want if you have tons of UTIs. So,
And talk
uh,
about men, Dehan.
yeah,
Explain like just men, do not be shy. If you have painful urination, and I mean if you're not sexually active, so you don't have anything to be concerned about, or then with your partner forever, we're not thinking about a
right.
STI. We're looking at most likely it could be a UTI from either bacteria that's climbed up the urethra, right?
Yeah, the
Urethra,
urethra.
urethra. Um, and just kind of talk to somebody. If you have to come in to find something on the shelves, do not be shy because you can really get recommended, especially at Healthy Habits. You've
Yeah.
got Stan, you've got a staff there that's so knowledgeable.
Yeah,
And so,
the big one that I see in the men is nocturia, waking up at night, especially. Like some
mhm.
people 3, 4, 5, 6 times a night.
And that, and
Some
right. And so what does that do to their REM? It's disruptive. So then they're not getting the repair at night that they need because they're not getting into the solid REM sleep. They have to keep getting up and that wakes them up,
right.
And so sometimes I wonder, maybe you can uh, qualify this is when they're lying down, is there more pressure from the prostate? I mean, more
Right, that's a
pressure
good
from the
thought. Yeah.
prostate onto the bladder because they're lying down because,
Yeah, that's a big one. Plus at night things they finally have a chance to relax,
yeah,
for after the day. They're
mhm,
laying down for the first time in the day. So then things can get more active then. as the bladder wall relaxes and presses even more on the prostate, if you can vision that,
Hmm.
versus when we're upright. It might not be, it's more engaged and active. So there's so many factors. Plus,
Right.
people that drink tons of coffee and caffeine. It's again, like I
And
said, it's dehydrating. And
yeah,
even if you stop drinking at like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. coffee, it's still in your system at nighttime, 10,
and I
11,
think that's
12.
just way too late too. Um,
Yep.
and try to do, if you do think you have starting to have these issues, try to avoid drinking water right before you go to bed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I know you're
Yeah.
trying to avoid dehydration, but two, the less water you have at that time, it's the better for the liver to start to do that for you, go
That's
into
a really good
detoxification.
point. A lot of people they're
Not
not
diluted.
they're too busy during the day, so they don't get their water in. So when
Right.
they come home for dinner, they're trying to get all their water in for the day and pack up tons of liters of water, and then that throws everything off even more. So, and there we go, just like that. That's the end of our bladder health episode here with Stacy Faulkner for
Hey,
178. Again, make sure you go check out 175, episode 175 with Stacy, where we covered estrogen and hormones. I appreciate your time as always. Where do you want to point our listeners to for more info, Stacy?
well, they can go to emeraldlabs.com. They can review all sorts of information on there. They can always come to Healthy Habits and pick your guys' brain over there. And we have social media. So we're on Instagram called hashtag I'm free. So we have lots of opportunities for people to view what's going on with Emerald Labs.
I
We also
appreciate,
sell,
yeah.
yep, we also sell at the same price on Amazon. And we also sell on our website. So we really don't undercut any of our stores at all. And we control all that. So just for people
Thank you.
going into Healthy Habits, you want to screenshot it, you're not going to find it any cheaper on Amazon.
People really appreciate that. That's big
Yeah. And
because they go.
if you do see it cheaper on Amazon, you have
Yeah.
to be aware it's only because Amazon priced it out at a subscribe and sale price. So it might be $1 less, but that's a subscribe price. So
Okay, got
people
it.
need to understand all these tricks that
Yep.
Amazon likes to do.
Well, thanks for giving us the inside scoop there. Appreciate your
Hey,
time, and I look forward to our next one, Stacy.
all right,
Thank you.
Dehan. Have a great rest of your week.